A bride I'd been working with for 8 months said it to me like she was confirming the weather. "Oh, Megan mentioned you might be leaving soon. She said you're more of an assistant, honestly." I asked her to repeat that. She did. I'd spent 6 years building that company. I designed every wedding. I booked every vendor. I showed up at 5 a.m. and left after midnight. And my business partner, the woman I called my best friend, the woman my daughter called Auntie Meg, had been telling our clients I worked for her. There was a card in the trash under her desk that I hadn't opened yet. I would, but not for another 11 days. Megan and I met at a bridal expo in 2016. She was working a booth for a florist. I was freelancing as a day of coordinator, handing out business cards I'd printed at Staples. We got lunch after the show, and by the time the check came, we'd sketched a business plan on a cocktail napkin. Laurel and Ivy. Her name idea. I loved it. We were good together because we were different. I was the one in the storage unit at 6 in the morning, steaming linens and counting votives. Megan was the one in the consultation room with a latte and a mood board I'd built the night before, walking brides through their vision. She had the warmth. I had the details. We ran the first 2 years out of my dining room. My husband gave up his home office so we could store inventory. My daughter, who was 4, started calling Megan Auntie Meg. She'd bring her stuffed animals to our planning meetings and line them up on the table like tiny clients. Megan would assign them weddings. Mr. Bear is getting married in Tuscany, obviously. My daughter thought that was the funniest thing anyone had ever said. I think about that version of us constantly. I wish it was the whole story. It's not even close. When we signed a lease on a real office, we painted it together on a Sunday. Sage green walls, the smell of fresh paint and cheap champagne. Megan hung a framed print by the door that said, "Built by us." I took a photo of it. I still have it. She remembered my anniversary. She sent my daughter birthday gifts with handwritten notes. When my mom got sick in 2019, Megan covered every wedding for 3 months and never once made me feel like I owed her. That's who I thought I was building with. In 2020, a hotel group in Scottsdale offered me a full-time position, Director of Events. Salary, benefits, a 401k, things I hadn't had in 4 years. My husband didn't say I should take it, but he left the offer letter on the kitchen counter for 3 days. I called Megan before I called them back, told her I couldn't leave, that we'd built something too important. She got quiet on the phone, and then she said, "I wouldn't know how to do this without you." I turned down the job that afternoon. I didn't even negotiate. I just called and said no, because I thought what we had was worth more than a salary. Megan sent me flowers the next day. The card said, "Ride or die." I kept that card in my desk drawer for 2 years. It was still there the night I found the LLC. But Megan had a habit I didn't think about at the time. She always introduced herself first. At vendor meetings, at client dinners, she'd extend her hand and say, "I'm Megan. I run Laurel and Ivy," and then turn to me and add, "And this is my right hand." I laughed every time. I thought it was a compliment. The first crack came from a vendor. A linen supplier I'd worked with for years called in March of 2022 about an unpaid invoice. I told her to send it to our business email. She said she had, but it bounced. The address on file had been changed to meganhaleevents@gmail.com. I asked Megan that afternoon. She didn't flinch, said she'd set up a secondary email for overflow, that it was organizational, that she was going to tell me. I believed her, but I typed the name into Google anyway. And there it was, Megan Hale Events, LLC, filed with the state 18 months earlier. Sole member, Megan Hale. My name wasn't on it. My name had never been on it. The email was the smallest thing she'd changed. I just didn't know that yet. I pulled up our website that night, really looked at it. The About page had Megan's headshot, her bio, her story about founding Laurel and Ivy, from a dream and a dining room table. My dining room table. Below her section, in smaller text, and our talented team of coordinators. I was the team. 6 years of 15-hour days, and I was a line of copy below the fold. While Megan was telling brides I was her employee, I was designing their centerpieces at midnight. While she posted behind-the-scenes stories from the venue, I'd been there since 5 a.m. taping floor plans to the walls. She wore Anthropologie to client meetings. I wore whatever was clean, because I'd been loading a van since dawn. She collected the credit. I collected the calluses. And that was before I found the money. The congratulations card. I went back to it, fished it out of the trash under her desk. A mortgage company, one of those generic cards with a little house on the front and gold lettering. Megan's name was on it, just Megan's. And the address was a 3-bedroom colonial we'd walked through together in October. Megan said she was just looking. I helped her measure the closets. I pulled every bank statement from the past 2 years. There it was. A $200,000 draw on a line of credit, opened against Laurel and Ivy's revenue. My clients, my weddings, collateral for a house with only her name on it. The cosigner field was blank. She hadn't needed one. She'd listed Laurel and Ivy's revenue, my revenue, as sole income. The bank didn't even know I existed. The draw date was June 14th, 2022. I remember that date because it was 3 weeks after I'd pulled $8,000 from my family's savings to cover a slow spring. She bought a 3-bedroom colonial. I bought us another month. I'd felt guilty about it. I told Megan I wanted to make sure we stayed afloat. And she'd looked at me across the desk we shared and said, "That's what partners do." She bought a house with the business I'd funded, and she said it like she meant it. I sat in that office for a long time. The sage green walls, the framed print, built by us. The smell of paint was long gone, but I swear I could still feel it. That Sunday, the champagne, Megan with a roller in her hand, both of us barefoot on the drop cloth. And then the memories came. Not slowly, all at once, like I'd pulled the wrong file and everything spilled. The Industry Award in 2020, Best Boutique Planner, Southwest Region. Megan accepted it on stage. I watched from table 12. She thanked her amazing team. I was the team. I was one person. The website launch in 2018. Megan ordered a cake with the logo, and my name wasn't on the founder line. She said, "I'll fix that next week." She never did. The business cards. Hers, founder and creative director. Mine, event coordinator. She said titles didn't matter. What mattered was the work. She just made sure none of it traced back to me. And then the one I couldn't sit with. My daughter's 7th birthday. Megan came with a wrapped present and a bottle of wine. She stayed late to help clean up. That was the same week the LLC was filed. She stood in my kitchen, drying my dishes, and she'd already erased me. I sat at the kitchen table at 2 in the morning, the QuickBooks login glowing, and screenshotted everything. 6 years of transactions, texts where Megan called us co-founders, the original cocktail napkin, kept in a drawer I should have cleaned out years ago, that proved we'd planned this together from day one. There's a moment after someone rewrites your life without asking, where you stop being sad and start being accurate. I didn't want to cry anymore. I wanted a forensic accountant and a business litigation attorney. And I wanted them before Megan knew I'd found anything. I made a list on the back of an envelope. 3 names, 2 firms, 1 demand. By 9 the next morning, I was in a conference room explaining to a woman in a gray suit exactly how much of Laurel and Ivy I had built. She asked if I had documentation. I opened the laptop. She leaned forward. This is going to be straightforward. My attorney sent the demand letter on a Tuesday. Certified mail. 47 pages of documentation. Transactions, texts, the original plan in both our handwriting. A vendor agreement from 2017 listing us both as principals. Megan called 40 minutes after she opened it, crying. Said I was overreacting. Said the LLC was just for tax purposes. Said she'd always planned to add me. 6 years of next week, and she was still saying it. I told her my attorney would be in touch. Then I hung up. That was the last real conversation we ever had. The forensic accountant confirmed $340,000 routed through Megan Hale Events LLC over 3 years. Her own records proved every dollar. She hadn't even tried to hide it. That's how little she thought I'd ever look. Megan's attorney requested a meeting before it went to court. A conference room downtown, long table, bad coffee, fluorescent lights. Megan sat across from me for the first time since the phone call. She wouldn't look at me. She looked at her lawyer. She looked at the table. She looked at the wall behind my head. Her attorneys started talking about shared vision and informal agreements and how the LLC was a misunderstanding. My attorney slid the cocktail napkin across the table in a plastic sleeve, both our handwriting. The original plan, dated. Megan's attorney picked it up, read it, and set it down without a word. Then she leaned over and whispered something to Megan. Megan closed her eyes. They asked for a 15-minute break. They didn't come back for 40. The settlement gave me 60% of the assets and the full client list. Every bride, every vendor, because they'd always been mine. Megan had 90 days to refinance the house or sell. The line of credit was reclassified as her personal debt. I signed the paperwork on a Thursday morning. My attorney's office, 2nd floor, a window that looked out over a parking lot. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just a pen and a stack of paper and 6 years of my life reduced to paragraphs and dollar amounts. But when I wrote my name on the last page, my hand wasn't shaking. It was steady. First time in months, anything about me felt steady. The client list transferred that week. I called every bride personally. Didn't say a word about Megan. Just said, "I'm still here. Nothing changes for your wedding." 3 of them cried. Not because of the situation, because they'd always thought I was the one running it anyway. And the name, Laurel and Ivy, still exists. It's mine now. I kept the name she helped choose because the business was never hers to take. It was mine to build. Megan's LLC was dissolved by the state 7 weeks after the settlement. Dissolved. I repainted the office last fall. Same sage green. The smell of fresh paint hit me, and for a second I was back on that Sunday. The champagne, the roller in her hand, both of us barefoot on the drop cloth. But the windows were different now. I'd replaced them last spring. Megan never would have noticed something like that. I always did. I hung a new sign by the door. Just my name this time. No print, no quote. My daughter helped me pick the font. She's 12 now. She doesn't ask about Auntie Meg anymore. People ask if I miss her. I miss who I thought she was, the woman who assigned weddings to stuffed animals and painted walls with me on a Sunday. But that woman wouldn't have called me her assistant. The Megan I trusted never existed, and I'm the one who kept her real.